Welcome to Digits. I'm Simon Constable. The Twitter sphere has been in an uproar over the last 24 hours after the social media company allowed blocked Twitter users to view or tweet at people who have blocked them. For a closer look at this reaction, we are joined now by David Rogers. He is the Faculty Director for Digital Marketing Strategy at the Columbia Business School up the island of Manhattan from us here. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Absolutely, glad to be with you.
So, Professor, privacy issues are paramount with all social media. Is this a huge deal? Is this a faux pas by Twitter?
It definitely is a faux pas by Twitter. The interesting thing is, unlike a lot of these sort of privacy issues that have come up, many of the cases around Facebook, rather than being sort of driven by the company first and maybe for business reasons, it was actually an attempt to respond to an expressed user need. And the execution, I think, was basically what was bungled, which is unfortunate. But to their credit, when they realized the severity of the response, they responded very quickly. There was, I gather, an emergency meeting of the executive team last night, and the policy had been reverted all within less than 24 hours.
Because I think the original blocking thing was to stop people being harassed or being called names or whatever it was, or being stalked, and get away from that. This isn't an attempt to restrict content, is it?
No. If anything, one might have argued that it was sort of a step in the direction of freer flowing content, but really that wasn't the point. They sort of inadvertently watered down the blocking feature. What happened was users had expressed concern that they were using it because they were being stalked or harassed, receiving life threats, etc., through Twitter. But in some cases, users said, well, now when I block someone, it's quite visible. They sort of see they've been blocked, and that enraged them and maybe led to some follow-up retaliatory behavior. So that was the sort of the germ of concern. And in trying to solve that problem, they inadvertently sort of took all the teeth out of the blocking feature entirely. Yeah. And so the folks who really needed it the most suddenly felt completely exposed, and they actually no longer had a way of blocking these stalkers, harassers, etc. So it was a very emotional issue.
Other than getting off Twitter completely, closing the account. Now, Twitter has IPO'd recently and has done very well since then. Does this affect their business model in any way, or is this just a PR snafu?
No, this is really a PR snafu and I would say a user relationship issue, which matters to the company long term, but it really wasn't driven on either side by a business model decision. This didn't have to do with data available for advertising, etc. We could see a conflict coming up hypothetically in the future where maybe a change to create more revenue opportunities might cause friction with users, but this was really not a case of that.
But Professor, famously, Facebook has bungled their privacy rollouts time after time after time. What should Twitter be doing when it goes forward to make further changes, as no doubt it will, as the service evolves?
Absolutely. I think the takeaway for their team from this is even more user involvement in the product updates. I think this came out of the right place. It was based on a user need, but it didn't seem like they really tested or showed what they were doing, their solution, to those users who are kind of most going to need. Most people don't use the block feature, but the folks who do use it, it's very important. So I think they're going to have to be a little more careful about actually involving the customer a bit more in the process of some of these future rollouts.
Okay. Great advice there. Thank you very much, Professor Dave Rogers, for joining us on Digits.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And more on the Twitter story on WSJ.com. I'm Simon Constable, and this is WSJ Live.